entire country as WhatsApp chats are appearing in AI responses. Is our DM history already out there? What are we talking about? We'll take a look at in just a second.
Preserving Vedic wisdom in Silicon Valley, the engineer protecting India's oldest texts, the scientists on the spiritual mission, making palm leaf manufacturing and manuscripts over there actually future-proof for where technology meets scripture. That's our person of interest.
And after that, we take a look at Overdrive. We are taking you straight to the roads as BMW goes full tech with 2025 X3. What is the X3? This is the new X3. It is lighting up literally. But how? Overdrive is going to be bringing you, as it does every single week, the lowdown on whether this vehicle is worth the splurge or not. They bring you the Overdrive verdict.
Now, in the last few weeks, who hasn't sort of ghibli-fied themselves, right? The digital phenomena where users upload pictures of themselves only to see AI transform the picture a few seconds later into a cuter, more magical, more surreal, out of a comic book kind of Studio Ghibli version that has taken over the world by storm. But it only took a few days to trigger a full-blown privacy panic across India as multiple apps and websites popped up online promising to sort of ghibli-fy your images for free. Now, this was, as experts warned, that could have harvested sensitive information as well. By that we mean sensitive data ranging from facial features to location access, and can run different kinds of silent operations in the background as well, collecting everything from your contact list to your microphone recording. Several users claimed apps unknowingly accessed their private WhatsApp chats, scrapped their Instagram DMs and started chatting back with their own data names, locations and even past complaints without permission.
Right, it reminds you of a scene from the movie Control, doesn't it? But it's not a joke. So the thing that's happened over the last few days is it's not just ChatGPT. There are multiple different tools that have come up online that are doing the lines. People are forwarding them on Telegram, on WhatsApp. And these are all different apps and websites that will take your photos, that will transform them. And people are actually testing them. They're sharing screenshots where suddenly these apps or these websites are taking your own private information. So beyond just that photo that you've uploaded. And states like Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Delhi, they've already flagged this issue with cybercrime units. They're being asked to monitor emerging AI tools. IT departments are exploring whether tools like Ghibli violate India's data protection provisions. And this very interesting question of, are we giving these apps our access? Or is there a certain level of bypassing taking place? You think you're giving them one thing, they're actually taking 3 other things also along with that. That's the more interesting question that we're also going to be taking a look at with experts today. India, remember, is 800 million internet users. WhatsApp alone has more than 500 million active accounts. If tools like this are going to be mining private conversations, where does that leave us? What does it mean for our safety? Obviously, we want to take a look at this in a lot more depth. Let's go over to our guest. But before we do,
actually, before we go to our guest, this is Yasha Kotak, our colleague who's based in Mumbai, who brings us more detailed conversations with the ADG of Cyber panel in Maharashtra. They were amongst one of the first states to come out with a guideline to say, hang on, before you press that button and use that filter, watch this.
Social media today is filled with people uploading their Ghibli-styled selfies, be it Instagram posts or WhatsApp profile pictures. Ghibli-styled pictures have amused the young and old alike. But while it is all fun and play from a social media perspective, cyber agencies are sounding alarm.
With the trend of Ghibli-style images catching up on social media, Maharashtra Cyber Cell has now issued advisory asking people to be cautious before uploading their pictures or giving AI platforms access to their phone gallery. This comes in as a fear of these pictures being used for cybercrime in future, looms large.
Maharashtra Cyber Cell in its advisory has raised concerns over Ghibli-styled images being used for data theft. uncredited usage and monetization of the content being stored on servers of artificial intelligence platforms without the consent of those who the pictures belong to.
आपने देखा होगा कि घिबली आर्ट आजकल एक ट्रेंड बन गया है. ये ट्रेंड्स मार्केटिंग टैक्टिक्स के तहत बनाए जाते हैं जिससे कि बहुत सारे विदेश में बैठे सर्वर्स हमारा डेटा चुरा सके. जैसे कि यदि आपने एक सेल्फी ली और आप उसको घिबली स्टाइल में कन्वर्ट करना चाह रहे हैं तो आपका फेस, जो आपका पासवर्ड है, आपका पासकोड है बहुत डिवाइसेस में, वो एक फॉरेन सर्वर में जाकर हमेशा के लिए दर्ज हो जाता है और वो उसका मिसयूज कभी भी किया जा सकता है.
As per the Maharashtra Cyber Cell, biometric data is 3 times more valuable than credit card data on the darknet. Ghibli and reverse Ghibli effects could be used by scamsters to not only monetize your data but even dupe you. With reverse Ghibli styled images, agencies believe that extortion cases would also rise.
When we are creating a Ghibli style image, we are having the first step to do is upload an image of ourselves or of our image with our family member. And when we upload this image, of course the image goes to the server and there it is digitally processed. There is a process where your image and its parameters are taken and then the cartoon style Ghibli image is given back to you. So if the server is holding your image, that is where the risk comes into concern. You have to understand that you are selling your image to that website or that software who is going to keep that image with you. Now when this image is staying on the server, there are concerns because this image can be misused.
Cyber experts and agencies are also of the opinion that with reverse Ghibli effect also coming into force, pictures that are being uploaded on social media could in fact be converted into actual images which could then be used as a tool for data theft from cell phones and also on various apps. This is Yesha with journalist Manish Dubey for CNN News 18 from Mumbai.
Okay, that is a brief look into what we're going to be discussing in more depth today. But let's go over to our guests who are joining us now. So first we have Mahir Gupta. He's an ethical hacker and a cyber lawyer at the Delhi High Court. He's actually joining us in studio this morning. Good morning, Mahir. And he has been tracking digital privacy cases for years. He's responsible for building CodeSnag.ai and Hackershala. Now, the other person that we're actually joined by this morning is a guest who we've had on the show before. Kanishk, welcome back to the Breakfast Club. You've discussed cybersecurity with us in a lot of depth, and we'll come over to both of you to understand a little bit more. Kanishk, if we could actually start with you first, and Mahir will come to you with the same question. When this phenomenon started, and possibly your loved ones, your relatives, were putting themselves in Studio Ghibli because everyone was doing it, were your alarm bells already going off before, we discovered that, okay, now lots of websites have come up that are doing this? Did your alarm bells go off right in that first moment?
No, it did go off in the first moment because a lot of my friends who were even cybersecurity professionals were putting out Ghibli images across their DMs, their social media platforms. And my key question to them was that, have you checked that where this data is going to land and how it could be misused? There are plenty of apps in the country which take your facial recognition and then use it for authentication. Now, here's a new feature which has been coming in an AI platform which does not take consent, and the same data could be misused for biometric authentication. So if you enter India's airport, you have something called as DigiYatra, where facial recognition is used for allowing you to access an airport. Now, if your facial recognition has been captured, the same data can be misused for allowing someone else to access instead of you, and it could be a potential risk not just only to you but also to people around, where someone could impersonate you and get into a secure facility, and you could be held liable and accountable. So that's one of the key issues. And as a biometric recognition catches up pace, we still would have a lot of databases where facial recognition technology would have been misused and people's biometric would have been captured, and that could potentially harm them or be used for impersonating them, which is a huge risk. Now, in lack of a data protection law in this country, there are plenty of new businesses which are now trying to create these AI-based Ghiblis and then promote them. So it creates a huge risk not only for one person but we as a society.
You're right, Kanikin, all the stuff that you've said. Let me bring in Mahir as well. Mahir, we understand that there are risk of synthetic identity, as it's called. There are risk of deepfakes, all these identity being used to create, to hack somebody's account, or to, like I said, as a place of misplaced identity. But I really want to understand, what are they getting out of these pictures apart from just facial recognition? Because as our colleague said in the report, the police is worried about metadata as well. What does that mean, and could you simplify for our viewers कि आप अपनी सिर्फ picture upload करने से क्या information बाहर जाता है?
Sure. So there are multi-dimensional things happening with the data you are uploading right now for the Ghibli style. There is one thing called mass surveillance, where international agencies are very much interested on knowing where I am currently. You must have heard China has recently launched a satellite with very high zooming cameras where they are using facial recognition to pinpoint a user or any person on earth to basically know their location. So other than the metadata also, they are going to use these images to train their AI models to enhance more and more mass surveillance devices. That is one part. Another part is obviously they are going to use these images to kind of segregate the users. Like if they want to basically identify how does an Indian look, how basically a female looks specifically, and how a male looks specifically, they are going to train and enhance their AI models onto these particular segregations as well.
Right.
And coming to the metadata thing, obviously that is a privacy issue where you are just sending your current location to the model, and they are aware if Mahir Gupta on this particular date uploaded this particular picture from this particular location, then he must be in this particular region only.
Okay, but can I just ask, are certain pieces of information embedded in a photo? So what do I mean when I say that? See, if I'm uploading a photo that's 3 months old, to get it changed into a Ghibli version of me, that photo is 3 months old. ChatGPT doesn't, or whichever other app I'm using, doesn't know, or does it know that that photo is 3 months old? That's my question. What's embedded in the photo?
So maybe ChatGPT must not be taking a lot of metadata to know that the picture is 3 months old, but your current position when you are uploading that picture to the ChatGPT engine or any AI tool, it knows from where you are uploading, which IP address you are uploading, and from which device you are uploading. So that is also one of the parts. So this data can be used for cyber warfare also, where they would be knowing most of the Indians are using this particular operating system models, like for example Androids or iOS, what the population is using massively to deploy malwares into your phones also.
Right. Kanish, can I come to you with that question? We understand now then, if I'm just to sort of conclude what Mahir was also saying, that every time you upload, you're not just sort of risking synthetic identity, you're actually training the chatbots for free without you having any access over it to go and do whatever they want to do with it. Under the new law, or is there a law, a lack of one, which gives them the liberty to use it and we, the user, have no control over it?
See, the lack of a data protection law is clearly creating a large issue because consent is not being taken from the users right now on how this data would be used. So that's one of the key issues that we are seeing. Second, a lot of people are today just uploading images where their privacy, their data protection is of big concern. The metadata which is being captured today includes not only your facial recognition, it also has your geolocation. So all this information is being taken in a non-consensual manner, which creates bigger issues for us as a society, because all of this information can be misused for further marketing, for further pushing ads. Remember, the biggest network today of the big tech company is for promoting different kinds of adverts. So if you are giving details in terms of what kind of clothing are you wearing, where you have taken this image, who are the people with you, it also gives information to push ads on you. And most of the big tech companies today make money through those adverts by passing all of this information to their customers, who are paying millions of dollars to get this information. So in a way, you're actually giving away your data to be used for advertising against you or to targeted marketing against you. So that's one of the biggest concerns that we need to understand. And when non-consensual images are shared, they also create, issues with respect to privacy, where this information is getting shared with third parties, because a lot of this data also goes to third parties. Now, imagine you put together a photograph of your family in a location which is very well known for tourism. Now, that is information that you are giving away. And can that information be used for targeting specific ads? Maybe push out hotel ads, maybe push out more locations where you could go for vacation. So that's information is critical. You might not realize that you have given away that information, but that information is really critical for some of the advertisers which these companies share data with for targeted advertising. Hence, it's important that you have a proper data protection law and you have consent being taken from users and also users being made aware who this data is being shared with.
Right.
Okay, can we...
If I can, I was going to say that a friend of mine had said this line many years ago. He said, when the product is free, you are the product. And I think that's what we need to remember. When all these Ghibli arts, conversations online, when all of this is happening free for you, then remember something bigger is at play.
That's very obvious in the sense of Instagram, right? Like we have made ourselves into products. But anyway, Mehir, if we could come to you with a slightly more meta question. I feel like there are almost two ways of thinking about this. There are some who argue that one of the biggest arguments against giving any of your data online to something like ChatGPT or other apps is that 10 years from now, you don't know how powerful AI is going to be. So even if we can have this, almost drawing room conversation about AI in its present day, we don't even know where our data today could take us 10 years from now. But there are others who argue that it's a little late already to be having this discussion because CCTV cameras, various other apps already have all our data. So why pretend we have privacy? How do you see the two very different ways of looking at it?
So basically, as we are discussing, like we are the product. If you are not paying through any monetization means, then you are basically paying through your photo. And why this photo is critical or the picture you are uploading to ChatGPT is critical, you need to understand that very thoroughly. They are going to basically train their AI into profiling you. Now your profile could be used for ads, your profiles could be used for basically selling you products, basically using for facial recognition, mass surveillances, cyber warfare, and there are multiple dimensions to it which we don't know. So AI obviously is getting trained. What AI is learning from your picture is very critical to know about yourself. So basically, let's say in coming 5 years, 4 years down the line, you will be totally aligned with using the AI products. They'd be knowing how do you look, how do you feel. If you must have heard there is a series called Social Dilemma. They told you about they even recognize your facial patterns while you are scrolling the social media. They see if you are smiling, you are sad, viewing a thing, and this goes for the content you are looking online. Okay, so if you are happy seeing a particular kind of content, they'll target it more to you. So this is all about capitalization altogether in the economy. That is where your pictures are being used. Coming back to the privacy thing, I feel like when you are exposed to internet, digital footprints cannot be erased. And once you have uploaded this picture, there is no privacy to it, there is no data protection act going on.
But might hold that thought, when you say it cannot be erased, there is a massive debate online on the right to be forgotten.
Yes.
And I want Kanishk also to sort of come in on this. Where are we? Where is India on this right to be forgotten on the digital footprint? Is it even possible in this country? When do we get to decide that this content is ours or this data is ours? This is a human being behind this scrolling. Quickly to you and then Kanishk.
So basically, rights, there have been constitutional rights in India since very long. Now, because digital is now kind of embedded into our life very closely. So government has enacted the new DPDP Act, Digital Privacy Data Protection Act for India. And then there are international laws like GDPR, then there is CCPA in US. So all these laws give you a right to be forgotten, which says in case you want any of your data, including your email, your name, your address, any of your personal data, you can ask an organization where you have worked also to delete that particular data if you have left the organization. It is not only about products or images you are uploading online. But the enforcement of that particular law is not right now very handy. You cannot map down the things. That's
Kanishk, why? Why don't I have the right to be forgotten?
The right to be forgotten would be there once you have a proper data protection law, you have a data protection board, and there are people in every organization who are responsible for ensuring this happens on ground. Now, if you go to EU, you have to give your consent before sharing your data, and then you get marketing calls, and the company informs you for how much time the data is being stored. And when they delete your data also, they send you an email saying that we have stored your data for 90 days, post which we are deleting your data. And if you would want to continue receiving messages from us, please give us your consent. Now that whole consent mechanism comes into the picture, and the key part there is that when right to be forgotten comes into the picture, a lot of time users have gone back and asked the big tech companies that, hey, are you just tricking me, or have you actually deleted that information? Now that's subjected to debate, because now these global companies not only remain in one part of the world, they are global. So the server in EU, where data protection law is, the data might be deleted, but the data might be lying somewhere else in another part of the world where GDP data protection law doesn't apply. Now that's a key reason a lot of these big tech companies are under class action lawsuits, where the authorities are filing lawsuits because the data is being captured somewhere else and it's still being misused, maybe outside the jurisdiction, but it still is a breach. That's why the data protection law, once it comes out in India, will play a very, very important role in terms of right to be forgotten to be implemented, and even masking of data. So if you are giving away your data, who this data is being shared with third party is
correct.
Personal identifiable information, which is your biometric, your thumb impressions, your eye retina scan. Is that being masked before being shared with third parties? Today, that is a bigger breach, because that third party information can bring you more damage than these big tech themselves, because they are collecting this information to be sold. At the end of the day, they make money by selling metadata.
True.
But I guess where I worry, and Mehir, I'll come to you with this question, is that currently the present day Indian citizen is encouraged to be quite digital. So what I mean is that there are already so many services online where you are constantly asking the Indian citizen to either upload their photo, to either upload their data. The level of digital literacy we're expecting here, where we're saying ye sahi hai but ye galat hai, I'm worried that that might be getting a little too complex, and there have to be more creative ways to approach this kind
How
of digital
can we have
literacy.
digital India at not having digitally safe India?
Right.
Like, how do we ensure that both things are running parallelly? Because we're constantly playing catch up, we're constantly trying to understand how to curb and not having answers just yet.
Of course, this is an issue, but the point is there are two parts to running India. One is the citizens of India, we as citizens of India, and then we maybe as bureaucrats, as politicians, or as like flag bearers of India, all together in the international digital literacy cycle, if we say. So you need to understand, as citizens of India, we need to be more aware of not getting into the things of FOMO. If you will see, Ghibli is a byproduct of FOMO only. You must have created your Ghibli after seeing your friend's Ghibli only. Now that is where the hackers are targeting. The AI engines are targeting to get your data. They create a FOMO thing, and you will be like, oh, I cannot like basically stop here. I need to be very trendy to basically catch
You're
up with
saying
the...
these trends are created to extract data out of you?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, man.
What are other trends that have been that are similar to that?
So if you say, you must have heard Flipkart's or e-commerce, any website, Amazon's are giving things at 1 rupee. Why do you think there are product companies which are selling their product at such a low price? There are scam companies being run parallelly as shadow companies, which basically creates fake URLs, fake website during these big billion day sales. During Diwali, during Holi, if you see, cybercrime is now becoming a seasonal thing. Whenever they want to trigger, they want to extract data, they want to extract money, they can do. And that is just all FOMO and marketing what they are targeting.
Mahir, we need
I just
another
wanna add here.
episode. We need another episode to discuss all of this.
Yeah,
but
I just want to add here.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Kanishk, do give us some solutions. Every time we have we have a debate or we have an episode on data security, we end up by saying, throw away all your smartphones, go back to the dumb phone. That's not possible in today's world. So give me some workable solution.
See, if we look back, there was a Russian app which came in which made you look old, and a lot of people had downloaded that app to see how old they would look. Ultimately, it turned out that app was responsible for just collecting data from people. So the first thing that we need to do is, when such new FOMO comes out, you go and check the security settings. Now, Google has security ratings for most of these apps, and you would see that security ratings for new apps, like specifically the Russian one, there were specific best practices written stating, okay, this app could be used for potentially impersonating you or collecting your PII. The data could be used by threat actors for targeting you. The next part, which is very, very important, is that look at the users who have created the app. A lot of these apps are pushed forward, and if you look at the company who's created this, there might be lying in some part of the world you have never heard about. So that's the second cue. Third, anything which is too good would be a scam. Whether it is crypto, whether it is a face recognition app, whether somebody giving you a lot of money or giving you 95% discount, that is bound to be misleading, right? So basically not falling for the trap. Now it's going back to the days in 90s where internet had just arrived, where people would dupe you on the road. Now those same criminals are there in the
online
internet space. So you have to be careful to identify who are these scamsters. You would see that there used to be people who used to ask you for the biggest note in your wallet and then try and push a snake into your car. That used to be kind of a phenomenon. So similar thing is, you've got scammers who are trying to take the biggest note out of your digital wallet.
Nice.
And you need to be careful to identify who the scammer is.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it
Right.
over there for the moment.
Mahir,
So much
Kanish,
to think
thank you
about.
for joining us. Thank you for sort of alerting us this morning.
Yeah.
I was guilty. I did a lot of us did. We saw the Studio Ghibli excitement. We all were like, let's try it.
You know
and
what's funny? I didn't do it for the longest time thinking, what am I doing for the artists? But data privacy never struck my mind because it was ChatGPT, right? It wasn't like any other app.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we don't know.
That's the bigger question. We don't know anything's going
We
in
don't
10
know
years.
any of that right now. For the moment, let's take a break from this conversation, go back to your phones and share this perhaps and see how that works out. But we're going to join you on the other side with a person of interest, one who's preserving Vedic wisdom in silicon. Come right back for that.
Dear brothers and sisters, may the Lord give you peace and happy Easter. The empty tomb of Christ is a sign of proof and a proof to us that we will see justice, that hope will be fulfilled, that peace will be confirmed. We have no illusions. We know what is happening among us and in the world, and we do not have much hope in the ability of those in power to find solutions, which unfortunately seem to be ever more distant. And we cannot but express our concern about a possible further deterioration of the political situation and the worsening humanitarian catastrophe that is unfolding, especially in Gaza. I'm thinking particularly of our small community, which for many months has become a sign and symbol of solidarity and hope, as a small boat anchored to life in a sea of pain and suffering. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Hallelujah.
الشعب العربي الفلسطيني انظر اليوم على بطاقة الهوية تبعته في خانة الديانة بتلاقيش أي مسمى مسيحي مسلم، هو دم واحد، هو واحد. اليوم أنت في عندك غزة وبيت لحم وجنين وطول كرم، جميعها مدن فلسطينية منكوبة. كيف ممكن للشخص أنه يفرح ودم أخوه سايل على التراب؟ فاليوم إحنا للأسف دم الفلسطيني شلال، وبالنسبة للعالم مش قادر تميز انه كل رقم بسمعوه بالاخبار هو هذا الشخص في له عائلة، له اب، له ام، له زوجة، له طفل، له طفلة، في له اسرة كاملة حزنت عليه. اليوم للاسف كمان لما ننظر على غزة الدم الفلسطيني عماله بسقط بالجملة، فلا يمكن يكون في عنا اجواء فرح كان مسيحي او مسلم في ظل هيك ظروف.
Welcome back to the Breakfast Club. Our person of interest today is someone who blends cutting-edge science with ancient Indian wisdom. Professor P.R. Mukund is an electrical engineer. He spent decades in the US working on advanced semiconductor technologies. But some of his most fascinating work is rooted right here in India. He's built a one-of-a-kind archival technology we're going to be talking a little bit about here on the show. It's called wafer fish, and it can preserve centuries-old palm leaf manuscripts in a form that's fireproof, waterproof and built to last forever.
Now, isn't that the kind of tech you absolutely love? Professor Mukund's work goes beyond just hardware. His books explore Vedic ideas, success, Dharma and the kind of wisdom modern life often leaves behind. Today we talk to him and the person who's preserving India's also oldest knowledge systems with the help of the sharpest technologies that he's building. So let's welcome him on the program now. Good morning, Professor Mukund. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Good morning to you. It's pretty late at night where I am, but
the professor's joining us from Minnesota.
Yes, super. The world, like it says in your background, is the oasis at the moment. So let's just dive in straight. You've had a long academic career in electrical engineering, and yet your name is also tied very closely to ancient Indian wisdom. At what point did these two worlds begin to overlap for you?
Actually, at the outset, I should thank you for inviting me to your show. A lot of people think that somehow the modern Western science, if you will, and the so-called ancient Vedic wisdom are somehow two separate things. Knowledge is knowledge, and I think that there are a lot of not only commonalities, but one can help the other. And so that thought did not occur to me in vacuum. Actually, my guru, he told me that in 2003. So to answer your question, it's been more than 2 decades. And he specifically said that, look, you have 1 foot over here and 1 foot over there. So you need to sort of do what you can to build a bridge. So in my own little humble way, I've been trying to do that.
Sweet.
So what is, we told our audiences earlier, wafer fish, and we've broken it down or we've simplified it and we've said it's a silicon-based data storage tech. But what does that actually mean? What is wafer fish? Tell us that. Why did you think that this is the need of the hour? And there are some comparisons to technology that NASA is using. What does that mean? Just break it down for us.
Yeah, well, actually, I need to just take a step backwards, if you will. There's a difference between storing knowledge and storing manuscripts. Just because you preserve a manuscript doesn't mean that you have preserved knowledge. For the simple reason that there are many different lipis, scripts that are used in ancient manuscripts. And some of them, there are very few people who can actually even read those things. And so there are a lot of issues there. So I'll skip all of that and come directly to talk about the preservation of the manuscript itself, right? And so when you look at a manuscript also, you can say, when I say I want to preserve it, am I talking about preserving the original media, whatever that might be, or do I want to actually preserve what has been recorded there? And the two are slightly different things. For example, if you take a 1,000-year-old palm leaf manuscript, let's say, right? So after all these years, it's not in prime condition, obviously. They are biodegradable, many of these things. So the question is, do you want to keep on preserving that for whatever reason? Or do you want to extract the image that has been embedded in that medium and transform it into another medium that will last for a long, long time, right? So in that regard, if you look at palm leaf manuscripts, which is very commonly used, especially in the southern part of India, because obviously, palm trees are there in plenty, so that's what they use. And so the way actually things were written on that is engraving. It's not actually written with a sharp metal object. They actually engraved that and then filled it with some vegetable ink, right? So what happens over time after many centuries is that the ink fades away, for example, the medium becomes brittle and so on. So when you want to preserve what is actually embedded in that, the image that is embedded in that. So if you think of the writing as an image, right? Now the question is, how can you faithfully extract that image? First you have to extract the image, then do whatever processing you want to do and map it back onto another medium without losing any data, of course. And that has to stay for however long, right? So that is it's a three-step process, right? And you mentioned wafer fish. That's one of the technologies. We work with different technologies, including paper. For example, by the way, we have saved about 3,300 manuscripts as of now, right? And I have a non-profit trust in India, and that was started in 2008. So in these years, we have saved more than 3,300 manuscripts. And so those things, one of the things we do is we map it into archival paper, and which is the same paper that on which the Constitution of India has been written. It's totally 100% cotton, acid-free, but even that lasts maybe, I guess, maybe 150 to 200 years, right? So we need to find other medium. And looking at the wafer fish, which you mentioned, it's a very unique technology in the sense that when man was sent to land on the moon many years ago by NASA, they wanted to leave a time capsule on the moon.
So this is like that.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know who they expected to come and dig it up and read, but anyway, they wanted to do that, right? So this technology is very, very similar to that. And what it is, if I can very briefly explain it to you in a couple of minutes, is that when you take silicon wafer, which is the same material we use for making computer chips, right? So if you look at a wafer, that medium, all the transistors, or what we call active devices, are actually embedded in the wafer. Now you have to connect all these things. You have to understand that today, if you give me 1 inch by 1 inch silicon, I can put billions of transistors there, right? And all of these things have to be connected to each other, right? So which is a very complicated thing, obviously. That is done using metal above the silicon. Now, here comes the interesting thing. When metal meets silicon, that bonding is so good, so good, that it just doesn't separate at all, right? And also this particular thing is fireproof, it is waterproof, which are the two things that damage manuscripts the most. And so what we do is we take that image, we reduce it, put it on this wafer, like that image that you're showing right now on the right, what I'm seeing. And the interesting thing about that is that, let's say 500-600 years from now, somebody wants to read it, right? You don't need a computer, you don't need any software, because God knows what they'll be using at the time. All you need is light and magnification, that's all.
I see, I see. This is so fascinating, Professor Mukund. I love it. But there's another aspect to your work as well, right? Much of your work actually revolves around talking about dharma and integrity. In a professional world, which is often driven by results and optics, how does one actually practice that in today's life? So let's shift the focus from silicon and metal to actual worldly issues now.
Yeah, well, these things started somewhat more recently, actually. What happened is that I've been doing research and guiding students doing PhD and masters and all that for many years. I've supervised more than 82 students. And a good section of them, as you probably can imagine, come from India, graduate students to do PhD and so on. So one of the things I noticed is that these people who came, they were smart people. They're very, very smart young people. But apart from the technical side of things, they were very, very ignorant about life's lessons, right? See, everybody wants to be successful, right? You want to be successful. All of us want to be successful. Nobody starts off saying, let me be a failure, right? But then the question is, how do you define success? That's the important thing. And in the Western definition, nothing wrong with it. It's just one definition. If you, for example, become the CEO of a big company, make tens of millions of dollars, all those things, that is defined as success, right? But according to our way of thought, success is multidimensional. And so it includes so many different things, and use the word dharma. And so we call, we say sanatana dharma, right? So eternal values. And so the question is, how come we who gave it, thought about it and gave it to this world, we ourselves forgot about it, right? And we are allowing other people to define it for us. And so do I have the time to give one example of that?
Very quickly, in a 30-second reel format.
Okay, sure. So when you start a company, how do you define whether the company is successful or not? In the startup world, when you give the business plan, they'll say, what's your exit strategy?
Right.
They say, how are you getting out? My thing is, it's like saying you give birth to a baby and say, when will you give it up for adoption? Right? So a successful parent is one who sees this child grow up to be a good adult. Similarly, a successful company, according to us, is if it creates a lot of employment, a lot of things for a lot of people, not just making money for me. So that's the difference between dharma and adharma, I think. At least that's my humble opinion. So when you teach people these things, actually they love it. Believe it or not, they love it. And they adopt it. And I have hundreds of students who are very, very successful people, extremely successful people who live this life every day.
Adorable. Absolutely lovely, Professor Mukund. We wish we had more time to discuss more about what success means in today's modern world, but we'll leave that for another day. Thank you so much for joining us so late in the evening for you.
Okay, let's move on from that now to something entirely different. Stories from India and across the world.
All right, Mumbai Indian senior batter Rohit Sharma spoke about how it was important for him to do the simple things right when form wasn't going his way, and it was easy to start doubting yourself after his player of the match performance against rivals Chennai Super Kings at the Wankhede Stadium. Now Rohit top score with a 45-ball 76 as MI chased down 177 in less than 16 overs. He hit 4 boundaries and 6 maxims in a near flawless performance and his first unbeaten knock in a run chase. It was a brilliant turnaround of form, having failed to put up a single half century in the previous 6 outings.
Okay, and moving now to the question that's had CSK fans losing their hair. 5-time champions CSK. They've only managed to win 2 out of the 8 matches played so far. The 6th defeat of the ongoing season has now put the MS Dhoni-led side's chances of qualifying in danger. And everyone is asking, can they qualify for the IPL 2025 playoffs? Can they now? What's going to happen? Now, CSK can now only finish with a maximum of 16 points if they win all of their remaining 6 matches. But since 5 teams have already secured 10 points and have at least 6 more matches to play, 16 might not be enough for CSK to qualify for the playoffs. But 6 wins in the remaining 6 matches will keep them. So they'd have to win every single match to keep themselves in contention. And if other results also go their way, then the men in yellow might finish in the top 4 and progress to the next round. CSK fans obviously have their fingers crossed.
The challenges and lives of penguins around the world are brought to life in The Secrets of Penguins, hosted by National Geographic explorer and filmmaker Bertie Georgie, premiering on the eve of this year's Earth Day. The 3-part series took over 2 years to film and saw the team capture penguins, of which there are 18 different kinds in places ranging from Cape Town to the islands of Antarctica. Their efforts paid off through when they captured footage including penguin chicks not just jumping into the sea for the first time, but having to jump off the 50-foot ice cliff first in order to get to the sea.
I think people should watch because I have filmed penguins a lot before myself. I thought I knew penguins. I was so wrong. And every time we went out to film, we discovered literally new penguin secrets. Yeah, I'm excited to see people's minds blown like ours were in the field. And this was the plan, to film them jumping in the sea for the first time. But normally they do that jumping off of the sea ice, which is 1 or 2 foot high. But we followed a group of chicks that took a wrong turn on their way to the sea, and they found themselves at the top of a 50-foot ice cliff.
And next we're taking you to Easter celebration. Hundreds of Orthodox Christians celebrating Easter with a candlelit vigil in North Macedonia's ancient Bigorsky Monastery at midnight on Saturday. That monastery is a significant site for Orthodox Christians, housing some of the faith's most precious relics. Take a look at those visuals.
Hristos Voskresnu, stanali.
Vibrant and creatively designed kites fill the skies in China, attracting enthusiasts from across the world. Amongst the highlights of the World Kite Park was a massive kite measuring 30 meters in diameter, alongside with other eye-catching designs such as the shark, pig and the tiger. First held in 1984, this year's International Kite Film Festival officially opened up on Saturday, drawing 257 teams from 51 countries. Kites are believed to have been invented in China more than 2,000 years ago, where they were traditionally made for readily available materials such as rice paper, silk and plant fiber.
Okay, and it's breakfast time, which is perfect for this next story, as chefs from 14 countries have descended on Algeria to compete for the best traditional dish. This is in the 3-day Culinary Art Festival. It's a competition to celebrate culinary heritage, and what you're looking at is more than 180 participants from Algeria and abroad. Turkey, Syria, Italy, Egypt and Russia cooking their most traditional dishes in tents. Okay, moving on. They say don't mess with a good thing, but BMW clearly didn't get that memo. The 2025 X3 looks sharper, drives smarter, and might just be the most high-tech SUV BMW has made so far.
Why are we saying that? Because the features, the glowing grille, the next-level parking assistance, and even a surveillance mode inside the cabin, this is not your average family car. The Overdrive team took it for a spin to see what's new, what's worth the money, and whether it still has the signature BMW thrill behind the wheel. Here's Ashish Vedic.
The first generation BMW X3 was a bit of an oddball. Lacking both the aesthetic appeal and the dynamic prowess BMW is usually known for. And let's not even talk about the brakes. Those were bad enough to make you consider an insurance premium upgrade. Thankfully, BMW got its act together with the subsequent generations, improving the design, the driving dynamics and the suspension, making the X3 one of the sportiest mid-sized luxury SUVs out there. But in today's tech-obsessed world, where your buddy's Hyundai or Kia has more gadgetry than your luxury crossover, BMW had to step up.
And step up it has. It is the techiest BMW X3 and it is out to out-tech, out-glow and out-sophisticate everything in the segment, making sure that no one is going to question your luxury car purchase for a really long time. The moment you walk up to the car, it lights up as if it's preparing for a gig in Las Vegas. Everything from the headlights to even the kidney grille has a glow to it. And then you'll also see the carpet lighting on the side, which lights up everything from the front door to the rear. And has an M logo on it because you see, this car, irrespective of the petrol or the diesel powertrain that you choose, only comes in India in the M Sport trim. It doesn't feel like it's waking up from some deep slumber. There is a sense of occasion to it, and I quite like it.
In terms of proportions, this is the tallest, widest and longest X3 ever, though its wheelbase is just shy of the Mercedes-Benz GLCs. You may not immediately notice the sharper character lines, but you will definitely see the tail lights, which now ditch the previous gen's plier-shaped design for something more sophisticated. A sleek, arrow-like design that finally looks like it belongs on a BMW SUV.
The front grille is, well, lit, quite literally. Now some might think it's a bit much, but hey, if Mercedes-Benz can get to have a glowing logo, why can't BMW flaunt its nostrils? And if you still think it's a bit too bling, you can always turn it off.
The adaptive LED headlights are now fancier too, with a blue signature resembling BMW's premium cars and the laser lights. BMW has gone full sci-fi with the ambient lighting, which isn't just decorative, it's interactive.
If I were to turn on the hazard lights, it starts flashing red to tell me that I have switched on the hazard lights. Similarly, if I were to make changes to the driving modes, right now you can see the blue and red, that's a part of the sport. If I were to move to efficient, it all turns blue and white. And again, if I were to shift to personal, it gives me a different combination. So all these settings can be fine-tuned. You can even change what color combinations you want depending on the driving mode.
You also get chunky lighting for the space in the tunnel console, but this is more form than function. The light doesn't really light up anything inside the storage space, but gives it that big outline.
BMW likes to call this the jewelry box. Sounds like something that will complement the grandma clock in a Mini Cooper. But speaking of Mini Cooper, what you also get is this fabric trim for the dashboard and for the doors.
The dashboard now features a new 3D fabric mesh trim, which is a welcome break from the usual wood or piano blacks, and it looks modern. But keeping it dust-free in Indian conditions might be an absolute nightmare.
At the center of it are these two massive screens in that curved display layout and running OS 9, something very similar to what we've seen with the BMW iX1.
Mahi sir.
Dear brothers and sisters, may the Lord give you peace and happy Easter. The empty tomb of Christ is a sign of proof and a proof to us.
US Vice President J.D. Vance is seen as somebody very powerful and effective in the US administration. The semi-official visit of Vance along with his family to US Vice President J.D. Vance is seen as somebody very powerful and effective in the US administration. The semi-official visit of Vance along with his family to India is seen as a recce visit ahead of President Trump's visit to India later this year. In Delhi, Vance will hold talks with
Welcome back. You're watching The Breakfast Club, and next we're taking you to a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look first at markets. Okay, first, GIF Nifty trends indicating a positive start for Indian equity indices. Markets will closely watch tariff developments, earning trajectory intraday. Asian shares were weak today as tariff uncertainties weighed on a continuing sentiment. US stocks ended very sharply higher on Thursday. They were shut on Friday on holiday. Crude oil prices fall on Russia, Ukraine's possible truce and tariff uncertainties.
Let's look at the sector in focus this Monday morning. Now, the domestic banking sector is relatively insulated in the current volatile global milieu. Now, while loan growth is moderating, the composition of the loan book is improving with lower unsecured loans coming in. Now, while challenges remain on the deposits and margins, falling G-Sec yields is a positive factor. And lastly, asset quality continues to remain manageable with few pockets of stress visible. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's banking sector and various other actionable insights on the market. It's a premier destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need, brought to you by Money Control.
All right, with that, we're drawing our show to a close. It's just Monday. We're going to be with you the whole week with different episodes, breaking down what's taking place in the world around us. For now, though, goodbye.
It's time to say bye-bye. We'll see you again tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Tune in then. Bye.
MDH का किचन किंग US Vice President J.D. Vance is seen as somebody very powerful and effective in the US administration. The semi-official visit of Vance along with his family to India is seen as a recce visit ahead of President Trump's visit to India later this year. In Delhi, Vance will hold talks with Prime Minister Modi. This will be the second time both leaders will meet. For the first time, they met in Paris in February. Both Prime Minister Modi and President Trump had set a bold new goal for bilateral trade, which is Mission 500, aiming to double the total bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. In February, Prime Minister Modi's message of MEGA plus MAGA equals to Mega Partnership for Prosperity has been received very well by both sides. Prime Minister Modi and President Trump also launched the